What if not every person who appears human actually possesses the same inner qualities? The comforting belief that all people share a soul, a capacity for love, and an innate connection to something greater may not be entirely accurate. Throughout history and across cultures, there have been persistent suggestions that some individuals, while outwardly indistinguishable from others, are fundamentally different inside. These individuals are described as lacking a soul, not metaphorically, but as a profound absence of the core qualities that define humanity. Recognizing the signs of such soulless beings can help us navigate relationships, protect our well-being, and deepen our understanding of what it truly means to be human. The soul is often described as the center of moral consciousness, the wellspring of empathy, and the vessel of purpose. It gives depth to thought, weight to choices, and authenticity to emotions. The soul seeks truth, beauty, and meaning, feels awe in the presence of the sacred, and strives for growth and transformation. A person with a soul wrestles with conscience, seeks to improve, and is moved by the suffering or joy of others. In contrast, a soulless individual may display intelligence, wit, or even charm, but lacks the internal fire that drives one toward higher purpose or moral evolution. Their existence is guided not by an inner compass, but by instinct, imitation, or self-interest. This concept is ancient. Spiritual traditions and texts have described soulless beings for centuries. The Pistis Sophia, an esoteric text, speaks of humans born without inner light, existing only to serve their own desires and ensnare those who carry true spirit. In Hindu tradition, asuras are described as beings who look human but lack divine impulse. Christian scriptures warn of those who are not children of light, but of darkness. These references are not merely metaphorical. They are spiritual diagnostics, pointing to a phenomenon observed across time and culture. Modern psychology attempts to categorize such individuals using terms like narcissist, sociopath, or those with antisocial personality disorder. However, the spiritual perspective goes further. While psychology focuses on behavior and brain chemistry, the esoteric view addresses essence and purpose. Not all who are mentally ill are one of the most telling signs of a soulless person is persistent emotional emptiness. Such individuals rarely experience authentic emotion. Their laughter may sound correct, but it lacks warmth and spontaneity. When others share moments of joy or grief, their responses are often detached, confused, or mechanical. They may imitate sadness or anger, but these emotions never seem to arise from genuine feeling. This emotional flatness is not situational or temporary. It is a consistent pattern across contexts and relationships. Another critical sign is the absence of true empathy. Soulless beings cannot resonate with the feelings of others. They may mimic concern or compassion, but it is superficial and lacks the internal experience of caring. When confronted with the suffering of others, they may ignore it, minimize it, or even exploit it for personal gain. Genuine care and altruistic action are foreign concepts to them. Their inability to connect is not due to ignorance or lack of social skill, but a deep incapacity to feel what others feel. Self-reflection is a hallmark of the soulful human being. Soulless individuals, however, rarely engage in true introspection. They avoid questions about their motives, feelings, or past behaviors. Instead, they deflect, lie, or create distractions. Their self-image is fragile. constructed entirely from external validation. They do not grow from mistakes, because they do not internalize experiences at the soul level. This lack of inner dialogue makes them rigid and reactive, unable to learn or evolve in meaningful ways. Manipulation is not just a tactic for the soulless. It is their default mode of interaction. They consistently deceive others, not always for material gain, but to maintain control over their environment and the people around them. Their lies are often intricate and self-contradictory. They exploit trust without remorse, and frequently gaslight others to obscure reality. Unlike those who lie out of fear or insecurity, the soulless lie with ease and indifference. Chronic deception becomes a mask that attempts to relationships with soulless individuals are typically fragile and one-sided. They maintain connections only as long as they serve their interests. Deep bonds of trust, loyalty, or love rarely develop. People are treated as tools or props, discarded when no longer useful. Others often feel emotionally drained or confused after interactions. These beings do not experience genuine intimacy. Their relationships are transactional, marked by exploitation rather than mutual growth. Soulless individuals often cannot endure silence or stillness. These states reflect their inner void, making them feel restless, anxious, or compelled to fill the silence with noise or distraction. Their discomfort with stillness reveals a lack of inner peace and spiritual grounding. This restlessness may manifest as compulsive talking, excessive screen time, or substance use, anything to avoid confronting the emptiness within. Their speech is often filled with spiritual or moral language, but their energy betrays them. They may speak of love, truth, and light, but their presence feels cold or hollow. This incongruity can confuse others, making it difficult to discern their true nature. Their language serves as camouflage, masking their lack of inner substance. Those attuned to subtle cues may sense a profound dissonance between their words and their presence. Soulless beings frequently change their personal narratives, beliefs, or allegiances without clear reason. They adapt their persona to fit situations or to exploit social dynamics. These shifts are not signs of growth, but of instability and opportunism. They lack a core self that remains consistent over time. This chameleon-like behavior disrupts trust and creates confusion in their social circles. A common sign of a soulless person is emotional flatness in key moments. When others cry, they may smirk. When someone shares deep pain, they may respond with impatience or cold detachment. In relationships, they often exhibit a disturbing pattern of emotional mimicry at first, offering intense affection and attentiveness, only to gradually reveal manipulation, control, and emotional withdrawal once their target is bonded. Their intimacy is not fueled by love, but by possession and power. This behavior is especially common in what psychologists call narcissistic abuse. But from a spiritual perspective, it may be seen as energetic vampirism, a draining of vitality from a soulful person by someone who cannot generate their own light. Another characteristic is an inability to experience awe or wonder. They may witness a sunset, attend a birth, or listen to beautiful music, yet remain emotionally untouched. The soul is the organ through which we experience reverence, beauty, and sacredness. Without it, a person may appreciate things intellectually, but cannot feel their essence. Their life lacks richness, and their sense of purpose is often purely material. They may pursue wealth, status, pleasure, or dominance, but never inner transformation. Their goals are horizontal, reaching out into the world, but never vertical. Soulless individuals often speak in cliches and borrowed opinions. They rarely express original thought or deep contemplation. Instead, they echo what is popular, expected, or strategic. When challenged on deeper issues of morality, mortality, or existence, they deflect or become irritated. Their inner world is shallow, and they fear the exposure of that emptiness. This lack of depth is often hidden behind carefully constructed identities: the wise teacher, the successful leader, the spiritual guru. These masks begin to crumble when confronted with real suffering, mystery, or intimacy. A major sign is the absence of remorse. Even when confronted with the harm they have caused, they may deny it, rationalize it, or simply ignore it. If they apologize, the apology often feels mechanical, empty, or performative. They may mimic sorrow, but it is devoid of inner recognition. A soulful person, when faced with their own wrongdoing, feels the pain of the other. They repent, not just to avoid consequences, but because their inner compass demands it. The soulless, however, are guided not by conscience, but by expedience. They do what works, not what is right. There's also a disturbing pattern of confusion and exhaustion that surrounds the soulless. People who interact with them often report feeling drained, disoriented, or subtly invaded after conversations or relationships. This is not simply the result of difficult personalities, but the consequence of an energetic imbalance. The soulless do not generate light or energy from within, so they extract it from others through attention, emotion, or chaos. Some esoteric traditions refer to them as energy parasites, entities that feed off the soul's vitality because they have none of their own. In group settings, soulless individuals may create division, drama, or confusion. They thrive in environments where they can manipulate perceptions and play people against each other. Their presence often leads to a breakdown in trust and a rise in conflict. This is not always overt. Sometimes it is subtle, a slow erosion of harmony and goodwill. Despite these signs, it is important to approach the topic with discernment and compassion. Not everyone who displays one or two of these traits is necessarily soulless. Human beings are complex, and many people struggle with emotional expression, empathy, or self-reflection due to trauma, mental health issues, or life circumstances. The distinction lies in the consistency and depth of these patterns. Soullessness is marked by a pervasive, unchanging emptiness that persists across time and context. Recognizing these signs can be challenging, especially when the soulless individual is skilled at mimicry and deception. They may present themselves as loving, spiritual, or altruistic, but their actions consistently betray a lack of genuine feeling or moral grounding. Over time, patterns emerge: emotional flatness, lack of empathy, chronic manipulation, and a trail of confusion and exhaustion left in their wake. Protecting oneself from the influence of soulless beings involves cultivating self-awareness, strong boundaries, and a commitment to truth. It is essential to trust one's intuition and pay attention to subtle cues: how one feels after interactions, the consistency of a person's words and actions, and the presence or absence of genuine connection. Surrounding oneself with soulful individuals, seeking environments that nurture authenticity, and engaging in practices that strengthen one's own inner light can provide protection and support. The phenomenon of soullessness raises profound questions about the nature of consciousness, morality, and human purpose. What does it mean to possess a soul? How can one cultivate and protect it? These questions have been explored by philosophers, mystics, and psychologists for centuries. The soul is often described as the seat of conscience, the source of creativity, and the wellspring of compassion. It is what enables us to transcend mere survival and aspire to higher ideals. In many traditions, the soul is seen as something that can be cultivated and strengthened through intentional practice, acts of kindness, self-reflection, spiritual discipline, and the pursuit of truth and beauty. Conversely, the loss or absence of soul is associated with a life devoid of meaning, connection, and growth. The soulless are not simply misguided or wounded. They are fundamentally disconnected from the source of life and light. It is also important to recognize the limitations of language and diagnosis. The concept of soullessness is not meant to dehumanize or condemn, but to offer a framework for understanding certain patterns of behavior and being. It invites us to look beyond surface appearances and to seek the deeper qualities that make us truly human. Compassion, creativity, self-awareness, and the capacity for awe are signs of a vibrant soul. Their absence points to a deeper emptiness that cannot be filled by external achievements or possessions. In navigating relationships and communities, the ability to discern between soulful and soulless individuals is a vital skill. It allows us to invest our energy wisely, avoid entanglement in draining or destructive dynamics, and foster environments where authenticity and growth can flourish. This discernment is not about judgment or exclusion, but about honoring the sacredness of the soul and protecting it from harm. Ultimately, the presence of soulless beings among us challenges us to deepen our own connection to the soul. It calls us to cultivate empathy, integrity, and inner strength. By recognizing the signs of soullessness, we can better protect ourselves and others, and contribute to a world where the light of the soul is cherished and nurtured. The journey towards soulful living is one of continual growth, self-discovery, and the pursuit of meaning. It is a path that requires courage, discernment, and a commitment to truth. In summary, the 9 core signs of soulless beings include persistent emotional emptiness, absence of empathy, lack of self-reflection, chronic manipulation, transactional relationships, discomfort with stillness, incongruity between words and presence, shifting identities, and absence of remorse. These signs, when present consistently and deeply, point to a fundamental emptiness that cannot be explained by ordinary human flaws or struggles. Understanding these patterns empowers us to make wiser choices, seek out soulful connections, and protect the sacred flame within ourselves and our communities. The recognition of soullessness is not an end, but a beginning, a call to greater awareness